Hey everyone, welcome to Screen Crush. I'm Ryan Arey, and first off, big time spoilers for Spider-Man Far From Home are ahead. After the post-credits scene of Far From Home, the big question is, what does Peter do now? His secret's out, the world hates him, and MJ doesn't want to swing with him anymore.
Never doing that again. I'm never doing that again.
Well, to guess about the future, first we have to examine Peter's character arc and how he got to this point. Only then can we know where he's going. When we first met him, he was a kid in sweatpants doing odd hero jobs around the neighborhood. He's recruited by his idol, Tony Stark, to be a pawn in a civil war he doesn't even try to understand.
Stark tell you anything else?
That you're wrong, you think you're right, makes you dangerous.
This is important because Peter never really chooses a side in Civil War, he just follows orders. He's thrilled to be around all these other superheroes like any teenager would be. So in Spider-Man Homecoming, he just wants more of the same. He's like a kid that won the homecoming game, so now he thinks he can play for the NFL.
I'm probably never gonna come back here. Mr. Stark is moving the Avengers upstate, so I am so far beyond high school right now.
In fact, Homecoming is about Peter realizing his limitations. For the entire film, he wants to be an Avenger. Like most kids, he doesn't think about the consequences. He thinks he's invincible.
Kids don't die!
But then he's faced with a real life or death moment.
No! Please! Hey, please! I'm down here! I'm stuck! I can't move! I can't...
This is the first time Peter realizes that he can be killed. The superhero life isn't all fun and games. It can be terrifying. So he walks away.
I'd rather just stay on the ground for a little while. Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
His fear is cemented by the events of Infinity War. Peter is thrilled to run off into space with his mentor. He even talks like he understands the full weight of responsibility.
I did think this through.
Have possibly thought this
You can't
through.
be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man if there's no neighborhood.
But then he watches the heroes die, and then he dies, and then he comes back to life and watches his mentor, the invincible Iron Man, die. So when Far From Home starts, Peter realizes the consequences of being Spider-Man, so he chooses to walk away, temporarily. All through the movie, Peter is trying to pass off his responsibilities because he feels like he isn't ready, and he probably isn't. He is just 16.
I wish the ring had never come to me.
But Tony's death means that someone has to step in and fill his shoes at the box office. Did I say box office? I meant Avengers.
The world needs the next Iron Man.
So, if Peter's arc in Homecoming is to learn his limitations, his arc in Far From Home is learning to rise above them. It's not until his conversation with Happy that he makes the choice.
I don't think Tony would have done what he did if he didn't know that you were going to be here after he was gone.
To become the superhero everybody wants him to be. At the start of the mid-credits scene, he's ready to be the new Iron Man. But then, the twist. Peter's choice is taken away from him. From now on, he can't be Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Like an unknown actor who's suddenly cast in Star Wars, he'll only be known for one role for the rest of his life.
I'm a person and my name is Anakin.
So, what's going to happen in Part 3? Well, much like Jake Lloyd, Peter's youth has been stolen from him. Now, he's been forced to become a full-time Avenger. In the comics, Peter revealed his identity to the world during Civil War. Afterwards, he, Aunt May, and Mary Jane had to move into Avengers Tower for their own protection. And now in the MCU, since the secret's out and Peter has powerful enemies, I think we'll see the Parkers moving to the Avengers facility upstate. But when the next Avengers movie begins, Peter's probably going to be burned out from full-time superhero work. And this is going to be a fun twist on his enthusiasm from the past movies. I could see Ned visiting him up at Avengers HQ and being all excited, saying, "What's that?" And Peter would be like, "Ugh, that's just Ultron's skull, don't touch it." Every kid always thinks, "Oh, when I grow up, I can do anything."
Gonna be a mighty king, so enemies beware.
But then when you become an adult, you realize it kind of sucks. You have to go to work and pay bills and feed your adorable cats. This is exactly what Peter is going to go through. He'll start to see superhero life as an obligation, not a privilege. More like the traditional Spider-Man storyline we saw in Sam Raimi's films. There's also room in the future to adapt the storyline Identity Crisis. In that arc in the comics, Spider-Man is framed for murder. So Peter assumes 4 different super identities, 2 heroes and 2 villains, while attempting to clear his name. But I don't think Peter's going to be in trouble for long. With the help of Stark Industries, S.H.I.E.L.D., and the Avengers, Peter will be able to prove that he didn't kill Mysterio. Still, the public won't fully trust him, and everyone will still know his secret identity. And maybe Peter living at the Avengers HQ would make the public mistrust the Avengers. There would be room for a few meta comments like, "I like the old Avengers, not these new guys."
That first park was legit.
I'm going to guess that Peter meets the Skrulls in the next Avengers movie. Then they can help put Peter and Spider-Man in the same place to clear Peter's name. But this will really piss off J. Jonah Jameson.
Get the f out of my sight before I demolish you.
who I think will play a major villainous role in the next film. See, Jameson leaked the video that revealed Spider-Man's identity. If it was proven that Parker isn't Spider-Man, then he'll be discredited. He'll hate Spider-Man even more and devote himself to proving that he's actually Peter Parker. This is where the next Spider-Man villain comes in. Matt Gargan, the Scorpion.
The one, the only Scorpion!
In Homecoming's mid-credits scene, Gargan tells Adrian Toomes, the Vulture,
I've got some boys on the outside who'd love to meet him. You know, take a picture, slice his throat, put his head in a dryer.
but Adrian keeps Peter's secret identity to himself.
If I knew who he was, he'd already be dead.
Now that the cat is out of the bag, Gargan totally can get revenge on Peter. In the comics, J. Jonah Jameson paid for Gargan's scorpion costume so he could apprehend Spider-Man.
That's it, Gargan! Don't let up! Get in!
Judging by Gargan's tattoo, it even looks like his street name might already be the Scorpion. This would be a great way to take Jameson to the next logical step. In the Raimi films, he was obsessed with Spider-Man.
And I'll make him infamous!
But also, he had a sense of honor.
Who's the photographer who takes the pictures of Spider-Man? I don't know who he is. His stuff comes in the mail. You're lying!
I would like to see Jameson's obsession get out of hand and have real human consequences. For instance, what if Spider-Man is captured, but then the city is overrun by supervillains? That's right, I'm wondering if Gargan might not be the only villain. The Vulture is still alive, and so I think is Mysterio, because the video leaked to thedailybugle.net was clearly edited after Beck's death, because it chops together dialogue to frame Peter. So somehow, Beck fooled Edith and is off plotting revenge against Spider-Man. This is hopefully all building up to the Sinister Six. I know we're 3 supervillains shy, but what if the Shocker returns?
The Shocker. The Shocker. I shock people.
And maybe Peter will apprehend a lesser villain at the start of the movie. Somebody like the Rhino. Then Jameson could technically be the 6th villain of the premier supervillain team.
I'm not interested in the world. I'm only interested in Spider-Man.
But I don't know, can you really have the Sinister Six without Dr. Octopus? Let me know, what villain do you want to see in the next Spider-Man movie? So in the next movie, if Jameson does inadvertently create the Sinister Six, that could fit nicely with that movie's theme. I think that Spider-Man 3 Can't Go Home Again will be about the consequences of choice. And this was basically the theme of other MCU third chapters like Iron Man 3, Captain America Civil War, and Thor Ragnarok. In each of those films, characters are reeling from the consequences from their past mistakes. And Peter has made a lot of mistakes. He interfered with the Vulture, he blew up the Staten Island ferry, he gave Beck access to Edith, and he's jeopardized his loved ones by becoming a superhero. His recklessness over these movies is going to come back to haunt him and his family. Now that the public believes he's a villain, he'll never have the adoration that he sought in Homecoming.
What is it like being famous when nobody knows it's you? Crazy. It's crazy.
And he can't live a happy life as Peter Parker that he wanted in Far From Home. Now he has to be a hero, not for fame or for fun, but because it's the right thing to do. In both of these Spider-Man films, he's looking for a mentor, but in the next film, he'll stop letting other people guide him and he will choose to lead. And maybe if Miles Morales comes to the MCU, he can become a mentor himself. And I have a feeling that the first lesson he's going to teach the young boy,
With great power comes great responsibility.
well, that's my theory on Spider-Man 3, The Chickens Come Home to Roost, but what do you think will happen? Let me know in the comments below. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Arey.